Despite accounting for more than half of the workforce in the financial services sector, women still lag behind their male counterparts in corporate leadership positions. This has been attributed to cultural and structural barriers. Wendo has more.
Female representation in the financial sector has been growing over the last decade, albeit at a slow pace. According to a report by Oliver Wyman, women globally occupied 20% of board-level positions in financial firms at the beginning of 2016, up from 18% in 2013.
PricewaterhouseCoopers came out with a global study in 2013 talking about the gender gap and saying that nearly 60% of employees in the financial sector are women, but only 19% rise to leadership positions. As you know, I'm central bank, so we deal a lot with numbers, so you'll see a lot of numbers today. 14% sit on boards, but only 2% occupy CEO positions.
Currently, we have got 38,000 employees within the banking sector, and if you start seeing, within the ranks of management, senior management, at the CEO level and even at the board level, clearly the numbers start showing that it's skewed against women. As you mentioned, there are only 3 CEOs out of the 43 CEOs that are women. At the board level, it's even worse. We, until recently, only had one chairperson who was a woman, until one of the bank's buyer appointed a second woman as a chairperson. So we now have 2 out of 43, which is still a bad statistic.
A major impediment to women's access to boardrooms in Kenya and the wider sub-Saharan Africa has been a legacy of male-dominated society, coupled with an industry that is resistant to change. Pay disparities between men and women in leadership roles has also contributed in making the glass ceiling impenetrable.
What I find in the banking sector is there's a very male culture. And I've always objected very strenuously. You hear people say that she's the strongest man in the cabinet. I find that an insult. I've never been a man, I'll never be a man, and I'm very happy being a woman. So I don't want to be compared against men. I want to remain a woman, and I want to remain steadfastly a woman. So I think that this kind of male culture does not help us. I know I've been in positions where I sit as the only woman in an organization, and you find that all the men have played golf at the weekend. And so when you start on Monday and you were busy running around with your children, you have no idea what's happening, because they've all come with a plan.
Leadership positions might not be restricted to management and senior management levels for women. Leadership opportunities for women in this sector, and indeed all sectors of our economy, must transcend this stage and infiltrate the boardrooms to have more women taking up board positions in order to provide the much-needed gender balance. In this regard, 2/3 gender principle currently being exercised in the public sector should be considered by the banking and financial sector if we are to nurture a climate conducive for growth and development of women-run businesses and enterprises.
Perhaps under pressure to create space for women in corporate decision-making, the Kenyan government has set aside 30% of all government procurement for organizations run by women, youth, and the disabled.
On our part, as government, we continue to recognize the role that women play in ensuring growth in our economy, and it's for this reason that we are taking a number of initiatives to enhance their participation. First is the creation of the Gender Affairs Department under the Ministry of Public Service. Youth Gender Affairs is aimed at ensuring that the gender issues remain at the center of our policy formulation processes. 2 is establishment of the Women Enterprise Development Fund, which has been receiving allocation every year, is aimed at empowering women in our economy to be productive and to access more affordable finance. This fund, together with the Wendo and the Youth Fund, both of which are also accessible to women, receive a total of an additional 1.6 billion in the current financial year.
The government needs to be continually encouraged on the 1/3 gender rule. I think we need to be there. We're 52% of the population. We're being very polite when we say we'll wait at 30. We're being very polite. It's not a discussion. My son thinks that I'm so adamant on this thing. He said he's going to buy me a T-shirt that says 29 and a half. Yeah? So to me, it's not a question, I think, as His Excellency said, it's not a question of us asking. It's necessary. We have to have that 30%.
And while an increase in the number of women in boards seems to be the target everyone is focusing on, improving credit and financial access by women needs to be at the top of the priority list.
So I think our journey is not just about promoting ourselves into public office and into higher positions, but also to think about those other women and see how to pull them. I tell the staff at Central Bank, where you're born matters a lot. Today, if you're born in an urban center in Kenya, your access to the financial sector is, as the CS told us, 75.3%, means you have an opportunity to make something of your life. But if you're not in that urban center.
Across the world, approximately 2.5 billion people, most of them being women, are financially excluded. That is, they do not have a formal account at any financial institution. Access to affordable financial services is linked to overcoming poverty, reducing income disparities, and increasing economic growth. I'm pleased to note that Kenya's financial access improved to 75.3% in 2016 compared to 66.3% in 2013, according to the latest Fin Access survey. Although we have improved, there remain 14.5% of Kenyans who are financially excluded and should aim at bringing them into the included category.